Hey, what's up guys? So today we're going to be talking about The Amazing Spider-Man number 30. I will outright be talking about the comic book itself, so if you haven't read it, spoiler warning ahead. Otherwise, if you don't mind following the story through my video, then you're also welcome to do so. At the end of the video, I will be giving my opinions and thoughts on the comics, so stay tuned for that. But without further ado, let's begin. So we begin the story exactly where we left off on the previous one, where Dr. Octopus just injected Norman Osborn with a load of Goblin serum. Now at this point, he's expected to turn into the Green Goblin. After injecting Norman, Dr. Octopus says, "Do you feel it, Norman? The Goblin serum coursing through your veins." And Norman, who's just holding his arm after getting injected, says, "You have no idea what you've just done, Octavius." Dr. Octopus responds with, "Oh yes, I do. I'm showing them all you haven't changed a bit. That under it all, you're still a villain." Norman starts laughing and pounding against the wall. After hearing him laugh, Dr. Octopus says, "Yes, let yourself go. Let the Goblin out." Norman keeps pounding at the pillar and he keeps laughing and he says, "You should have listened to me, Otto." Norman turns around to look at Dr. Octopus with a smirk and says, "Because you're an idiot." Dr. Octopus is shocked seeing and hearing this and he says, "What? That was enough Goblin serum to turn an elephant." Norman cuts him off and continues talking, saying, "And I already have double that running through my veins. My body has absorbed a massive amount over the years. It's teeming with it. I learned to manage its effects long ago." But Dr. Octopus is kinda lost looking at the syringe that used to have the Goblin serum in it, and he's just saying, "Impossible." But Norman continues explaining to him, "Impossible that I became the Green Goblin? Not because of the serum, but because of the evil inside me? An evil that has been cleansed? An evil of a buffoon like you could never dream of resurrecting." Dr. Octopus takes offense to being called a buffoon, and he says, "Do not call me a buffoon," and smacks Norman away. Smacks him a few times, and Dr. Octopus says, "If your intelligence were equal to mine, you would not be at my mercy. Mercy that has come to an end." Now we cut over to Spider-Man, who just recently fixed the old Dr. Octopus arms, and he just customized it to fit his costume, and he's wearing them to be able to find where Dr. Octopus's secret hideout is. Supposedly, the arms let him know where the location is. So Spider-Man and JJ are on the roof, and JJ says to him, "So you know where Otto's keeping Norman?" And Spider-Man responds to him, "The arms know, so I do too. We're exchanging information through the spinal interface. It feels weird, but my body adjusted to it when Otto took up shop in my body." Spider-Man turns to look at JJ and gives him a snarky remark saying, "You dare question me, you dolt?" Upon hearing himself say this, he quickly covers his mouth, and he's shocked that came out of his mouth. Basically, Dr. Octopus dialogue. After doing so, Spider-Man says, "I should probably get going." JJ says, "Yep, better wrap this up and get out of those things as soon as possible." Spider-Man confirms with JJ's remark and swings away to try to find Dr. Octopus's lab. And now we cut over to Dr. Octopus's lair where he's holding Osborn. And Dr. Octopus says, "I had hoped to take everything from you, Norman. Your evil schemes, the silly idea that you'd reform, but you took that away from me by being the most boring, pathetic version of yourself I've ever seen." Norman's still on the ground, beaten from the previous tantrum that Dr. Octopus had. We see that Dr. Octopus sets up this elaborate sort of death trap for Norman Osborn. "So now all I can do is take your life. Let me introduce you to the hypervoltage coil powering my lab." Dr. Octopus lifts up Norman Osborn using his new arms and sort of pushes him closer and closer into these electrical coils, trying to scare him. Continues saying, "I don't think I will, because you did the one thing I'd only admit to someone I was about to kill. You outsmarted me." And he pushes Norman closer to the electrical coils, intending certain doom for this Norman Osborn. But Spider-Man breaks through the doors, and he's yelling, "Otto, you thought you can hide your lab from me? Put him down." Dr. Octopus yells at Spider-Man, "You presume to give orders to me? I will not release Osborn until..." Out of nowhere, Dr. Octopus's current arms release Norman Osborn after Spider-Man tells him to put him down. And Dr. Octopus is confused, wondering, "Wait, what are you doing? Don't listen to him. How are you confusing my Octoids?" And Spider-Man responds by saying, "Maybe they recognize the voice of true authority." Dr. Octopus recognizes the way Spider-Man's talking, and he says, "Why do you sound like that? Like me?" "You didn't. You did. You spine-locked with my arms." Spider-Man clashes with Dr. Octopus saying, "I did and the die is cast." Dr. Octopus responds, Bah, but you're a child playing with a gun. You're going to hurt yourself. As they continue fighting, they continue talking, and Spider-Man continues saying, "Ha, I don't think so. Thanks to you, this is all muscle memory. We will see who is truly superior." And they appear to be evenly matched in their fight. But inevitably, the Spider-Man personality kicked in again, and he got a one-up on Dr. Octopus. And Spider-Man says, "Your mechanical arms were the only reason you were ever a threat, Otto. They gave you an advantage." Spider-Man uses his arms against Dr. Octopus, causing him to get slammed on the ground, and Spider-Man says, "And that advantage is gone." Dr. Octopus responds, "Ha, you think the octopus takes its prey by raw power? Fool, you've only fallen into my trap," showing how he now positions Spider-Man in a way where he's closer to the electrical coils. So now, Dr. Octopus using his new arms, he's gonna take out Spider-Man. "Don't be ashamed of your fate, Spider-Man. You've been harvested by an apex predator." Spider-Man responds, "Maybe you got me, but I've got you too. If I touch that coil, we both fry." Dr. Octopus says, "Yes, if only I'd taken the time to plan that. Octoids, detach! Now I have only to watch my invention seal your fate." Spider-Man says, "You're gonna break your new toy, Otto." Spider-Man, who's holding back the arms using the arms that he got from Dr. Octopus, and a voice out of frame says, "And you should never have let go of them." It manages to get a few punches in on Dr. Octopus, since he was basically defenseless the entire time, not having his arms, focusing on attacking Spider-Man. Spider-Man, after breaking Dr. Octopus's concentration and breaking away the Octoids, and at this point, Otto is basically begging, saying, "Stop, I can't breathe," and they're just strangling this dude. Spider-Man's response to that is, "What a pity." Spider-Man snaps out of it and lets go of Dr. Octopus after realizing that he's in a chokehold, basically about to knock him out. Norman starts helping Spider-Man out of the arms, but the arms sort of lash out at Norman. He continues saying, "It's time for us to go our separate ways." A little too much Otto shows up. "We're not good for each other, but that doesn't mean we're not friends, okay?" Explaining that to the arms, and the arms finally realize and detach from Spider-Man. The arms now detached, it looks like Dr. Octopus is making his escape, and as the trapdoor used by Otto shuts closed, Spider-Man says, "He's in the tunnels. Let's move, people." Some time passes by, and it's just Spider-Man and Norman Osborn that are just talking on a rooftop. "Go easy on yourself. Those tunnels were designed for Otto to escape." Spider-Man says, "That's exactly it. In the end, he got me." Norman responds, "No, he escaped. He wanted both of us dead. He didn't get either of us. In fact, I think he gave both of us a gift, a much-needed distraction." It was a terrible joke, and she was instantly embarrassed. But after that, every time I ordered a coffee, I would ask for extra serum, and we would both smile. I know she was there to catch me in some nefarious plot, but I liked her, and I think she liked me. Because she was good, and good is so much more interesting than evil. Raven thought his evil made him a god, but it only made him blind. Nothing he said is worth pondering. She brought down Raven's entire plan by saving one life. And so maybe we can take our mind off all evil for a moment, because I'm not sure it has that much power. Spider-Man says, "I guess it helps if one of those people is Kamala Khan." Osborn finishes saying, "Ha, I guess it does, Peter. I guess it does." And the comic ends. So Norman explains it as, and he managed to learn the effects of the Goblin long ago. The reason why he turned into the Green Goblin was because of the evil that was inside him, assuming, the insanity that typically takes over the Green Goblin stories. And through a brief summary, apparently that evil was removed through this holy shotgun that removed sins, and Norman got blasted with it. So now, it sounds like he's actually changed a new man. And no more is he gonna turn into the Green Goblin. Dr. Octopus sort of showed up, decides to screw around, cause this chaos, and in the end, he's not turning evil, and made Dr. Octopus look like a piece of shit. And so that pisses him off enough to just take out Norman Osborn simply on that fact. As for Spider-Man with the Dr. Octopus arms, sort of changed his personality into Dr. Octopus slightly, revealing more of his violent tendencies. But it would have been cool to see some sort of inner dialogue where Spider-Man's probably fighting with this were mainly used just as a way to find Dr. Octopus's secret lab. Dr. Octopus's old arms are living with JJ as a pet. I like the fact that Norman Osborn actually does get a moment to shine where he saves Spider-Man. Pretty cool moment for him to actually shine and save Spider-Man. I liked that. I wanted to see more. I think they're pretty funny. They serve as Dr. Octopus's new set of arms, which is just pretty cool. But it sounds like he can just get defeated by just getting distracted and not concentrating. So we'll see how he ends up fighting Spider-Man in the future again. As I mentioned how one of them was just raising his fist as if he were like angry. I thought that was pretty funny. But that was mainly it with this comic. I mean, they did bring up Kamala Khan again and her death, but Norman sort of just told us. But overall, I enjoyed the comic. Honestly, the only good enjoyable parts were Dr. Octopus and Norman Osborn's interactions. Spider-Man and the arms, man, I could not get into that. Overall, the issue was relatively pretty fun.